DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy, family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
Keepers of the Western Door, these lands are our home. For generations, our culture and traditions have been honored and passed down. Here it's more than just a game. It's the heartbeat of the community, shaped by generations of greatness. Today, the Seneca Nation carries that tradition forward, strengthening the foundation of a storied franchise in a city built on championships, culture, tradition, family. This is the Creator's Game.
Morning, and welcome to this special time and date episode of Against the Boards. I'm your host, Chamberlain Bauder. Thanks to my producer, Paul Russo, for getting us up and rolling. And it is a new day for lacrosse in Rochester, and we had a absolutely crazy beginning to this week. The Rochester Knighthawks are now owned by the Seneca Nation, and their new owner and head of the team is Jay Conrad Seneca, the president of the Seneca Nation. We've got a lot to get into today. We've got one-on-one interviews with Jay Conrad Seneca, with Dan Carey, with Brett Frood, the NLL commissioner, with Connor Fields, the NLL MVP. But we're going to start with opening statements from everyone. This is a gigantic day to me in the world of not just Rochester lacrosse, but lacrosse as a whole. To have the ancestors of the creators on an ownership board for the Creator's Game cannot be put into words how special that actually is. So, without further ado, we'll head right into opening statements first. We'll break down those a little bit after, and then we will get into those one-on-one interviews in just a little bit. So, in case you missed it, here's Brett Frood, Dan Carey, Jay Conrad Seneca, and Rochester Mayor Malik Evans.
The first place I watched an NLL game back in 1997. So I know as commissioner, you're supposed to be agnostic, right? You've got 14 teams, no favorites. This was my original team. So the Nighthawks, so this has been certainly near and dear to my heart, this process. And it's certainly a privilege representing the National Lacrosse League sitting up here. It's come full circle for me, for sure. And well, I think I missed the shock and awe of being the one to announce it. It certainly won't lose its luster. I'm here to officially announce the newest franchise member and owner of the National Lacrosse League and of the Rochester Knighthawks, the Seneca Nation. Certainly equally important is who we have the privilege of doing it with. This goes beyond welcoming a new great partner to the league. Rochester is where the Seneca ancestors once walked and played this Creator's Game, here where we're standing. This truly allows us to celebrate the deep cultural connection of our sport and is an impactful moment for our league and this community. And I'd be remiss not to highlight the passion and the savvy the nation is going to bring to this league in this city. I've been in the trenches with a number of people over the last couple months, have had a lot of new friends and certainly new colleagues that have been fostered in a short period of time. They are very sophisticated. They're business leaders, they're operators, they're culturally driven, focused on community development. And while they haven't told me this, I'm certain the fans will love it. I know they're going to have competitive spirit. And winning games and winning championships will be a priority for this ownership group and this city, and certainly Dan and the rest of the guys. So excited to see the future success of this franchise. There honestly could not be a better fit to operate this team here and franchise in Rochester. We can't wait to watch the nation immerse themselves in this market, grow an already strong nucleus of fans, and support the extremely well-positioned franchise in the league. The municipality and Mayor Evans, Deputy Mayor, and their entire team certainly made it very clear to me from the get-go how important keeping the Knighthawks in this city was to them, and it played definitely such a pivotal role. Not only working with the league, but working with Seneca Holdings and the nation to make this certainly a special partnership from the beginning. So thank you, Mayor. And just two left here, and I appreciate it. I'm going to thank all of the Nighthawk fans, many that are sitting in here at home for, I'd say, relentlessly and enthusiastically pushing us for this result. Try to stay off social media myself, but I know it was pretty important to this city and all the fans to keep it here. So while it may not have seemed like we were doing anything, a number of people were digging every day to make this happen. So appreciate the fans. Now it is incumbent on you to show up and grab your friends and grab your friends' friends and pack this place. I mean, this venue, the owners, the players deserve a full house. Okay, so a lot of people, a lot of hard work keeping it here. It's time to reciprocate. Let's pack this place. And then final thank you, obviously, is to President Seneca and the entire Seneca Nation. It's been a privilege working with them in this process. I can't wait to have these folks in our board and in our governor rooms and learning a lot from them and their sophistication. And they're going to not only make this city a better place, but our league a better entity. So thank you.
How about those Nighthawks? Let's go, right? Woo! Yeah. This is an exciting time, and I always say the Creator directs our steps. And so this was, I think, a great decision. I think certainly the excitement of the ability to own a professional sports team, maybe a little bit out of the box for a lot of our people's thinkings, but I think once the opportunity came, we looked at it and we realized the importance of it and our connection to this game of lacrosse and what it means to us as a medicine game, as a spiritual game, as a game that's able to bring our people and communities together. I think that's where we come from, and the importance of this game we call lacrosse is, I think, very vibrant here in Rochester. You know, there was a day back in the late 60s when a young boy, around 10 years old, got the ball at center court of the field and made his way down to the goal and scored his first goal as a peewee of the Newtown lacrosse team, and that was me. And so Rochester has always had a special part in my life in regards to that. It was my first goal I ever scored in lacrosse, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And certainly, those memories stick with us. And I think other memories that I have in regards to sports, I was a big Buffalo Braves fan back in the day. And I remember what happened with that team when the city of Buffalo and the fan base there lost that NBA franchise, and the team was torn apart and was moved out to Los Angeles. And so we had a really good connection with that. And I remember as a kid the effect that it had on me when a sports team was taken from a city and a fan base. And for us to be able to step in, to be able to take possession of this team, this franchise, and to keep it here in Rochester, I think means a great deal to you, the team, and I think to the fan base and the people of this community of Rochester and also this region. And so, you know, I think it's a very important decision and a process that we're going through right now. And we want your support. We need your support. As the commissioner said, let's get out there and let's get people into this building this coming season. Let's pack this place because the excitement is here, and we want to bring another championship to Rochester. How about that? Yeah.
Today marks a truly special moment in the history of the Rochester Knighthawks. A new chapter grounded in heritage, community, and an unwavering love for the game. I want to thank Mayor Evans, his staff, for being so supportive of this team and knowing how important it is to the community and the city of Rochester, along with Venue Works. So I appreciate them, working with us and making sure that this team was going to continue to be a part of this community. I want to extend my deepest thanks to Commissioner Brett Frood. Brett, your commitment to this team and this process has been nothing short of extraordinary. Without your leadership and determination, I don't believe we'd be standing here today. You fought for this team's future, and we are grateful beyond words. I also want to thank Jeff Ellis and the incredible team at Seneca Holdings. Your vision, professionalism, and passion have made this transition not just possible, but inspiring. And most importantly, to President Seneca and the entire Seneca Nation, thank you. Your decision to invest in the Knighthawks and keep the team rooted here in Rochester means everything to us. And I think I can speak on behalf of our players, our staff, everybody that is a part of our team has reached out to me one way or the other, and they're just so grateful. So on behalf of everybody, thank you. This isn't just about lacrosse. This is about culture, tradition, and family. The Seneca Nation is a founding people of this region, and lacrosse is a game that has been part of their culture for centuries. To have the Knighthawks now owned by the original stewards of the game is deeply meaningful. It's a connection that goes beyond business. It's history coming full circle. As we look ahead for this organization, we're filled with excitement. We're ready to embark on this journey with our players, staff, partners, and of course, our amazing fans. Together, with the strength of the Seneca Nation and the city of Rochester behind us, I can proudly say the future of the Knighthawks has never looked brighter. Thank you.
As mayors, we love win-win partnerships, and we love win-win situations. And the collaboration that we're seeing here, I think, is a good harbinger of what more will be coming. And so many people were involved in making this happen, but this could not have happened without the Seneca Nation and President Seneca. So grateful. The synchronicity was just amazing to me. I just had a feeling when I knew that President Seneca and the Seneca Nation had this interest. I said to the deputy mayor, I said, it's going to happen. I said, how do you know? I just felt it. It just made too much sense to me that a nation whose people, whose land, whose people we sit on, would one day come back to the very location and run a team on a game that they invented. It just made too much sense to me. And then when President Seneca told me that he scored his first goal here in Rochester, I said, now it's definitely known that it's going to happen. So it's obviously a huge win for the Rochester Knighthawks and their devoted fan base from across the entire region. And you fans, yeah, man, they didn't stop, did they, Commissioner? But to the parents that can bring their children to Nighthawk games and learn more about the history of the game and learn about the history of the game from the people that invented it, that is a powerful testament.
Lot to break down out of the opening statements there. First, before we get into anything else, some clarification for all of those confused by the way that they were talking about Conrad Seneca's first goal at the old War Memorial, not just in Rochester, at the old War Memorial is where that first goal that he talked about happened. We were talking on the floor afterwards, and he was asking about, the placement of the arena floor and kind of like, is this where it was, kind of a thing. Very cool to hear that and see that and feel that. Honestly, while listening to this from the back recording, I got chills at different points during each of these gentlemen's statements, just because the things that they said, for me as a Nighthawks fan, ring true, but also as a lacrosse fan wanting to see this sport grow, completely rang true. On the Rochester side of things, obviously listening to Commissioner Frood talk about this being his team and having an emotional tie to it was really impactful, and we'll hear more about that in a little bit from him. But all around, the vibes. I didn't think on June 30th when we got the news from Pete Gwelly that the Pagulas would no longer own the team, that we would end up in the situation that we are in right now. I can confidence is not the word I should use. Everything that has happened and been said around this has brought us to a point where I genuinely think the Nighthawks are miles better off today than they were the day before they played their playoff game last year. Like, before having a playoff loss and being in the playoffs with a chance for it to be at home as the 5th seed. And I think they're in a miles better place now today with the Seneca Nation as their ownership group. I think it's an organization that's willing to put in the time, put in the money, and put in the extra work to make this, not just the city of Rochester, but the Finger Lakes, Syracuse, everywhere that it's closer to drive to Rochester than it is to drive to Albany or Buffalo in the state of New York is going to be an area that this team markets to now. Like, awesome. That's what it should have been from the get-go. That's what this team has the ability to do. You have all of Central New York that does not have an NLL team if they don't root for the Nighthawks. Steal those Crunch fans. Steal those Utica Comets fans. Like, go to the hockey hotbeds in New York and make them fans of Rochester lacrosse. You look at Binghamton. Like, I know it sounds far away, right? But it's almost equidistant for them to go to Albany or Rochester. At the end of the day, it's way farther for them to go to Buffalo. Let's pitch to the Southern Tier. Let's pitch to the Finger Lakes. And you'll hear that as we get into a bunch of these one-on-one interviews as we go. And it was just one of the most confidence-bringing things to me as a member of the media who's been trying to help grow this sport. That's something that I've been saying in the background of it, and that's why I do this podcast in the Finger Lakes, is because there should be more generation for this area for fans of lacrosse. And now the league sees that, and now they're going to drive into it. And I'm so, so excited for that. One of the things that was talked about by me to a bunch of people that you'll hear me asking about in the one-on-ones, in my mind, this is like the easiest pitch ever, right? You have the former executive of the year in Dan Carey. You have a top 5 all-time wins coach in Mike Hazen, who we will have to see a contract get finalized because all of the contracts get nullified when a termination like this happens with ownership. So they will have to be brought back on. It sounds like there will be no real changes to that coaching staff. Kyle Calais was there yesterday at the press release and press conference. So signs are pointing towards the original staff, but they're not hired right now. So that is something to note at the moment. But expect something in the coming days, and you'll hear a little bit more from that from Dan Carey later on here today. But another quick thing that I did not put the video of into our clips for today, but President Seneca was asked about by Gene Battaglia how involved the nation would be in the ownership and running of the team and the actual day-to-day runnings of the team. And he said, while ultimately everyone there will want to have that input because it's lacrosse and they should, at the end of the day, Dan Carey is the president of this team and he's brought them to the playoffs each of the last 3 seasons and continued to improve the squad. So he's not going to step on the toes of Dan Carey. He's going to let him run his team, which I think is absolutely fantastic news. Absolutely fantastic. And now, of course, we got to show you the jersey presentation to President Seneca Connor Fields at the end of those opening statements, coming up onto the field to present the number 70 jersey for the 70th president of the Seneca Nation. And just an awesome moment for the team and for everyone. Love the jersey moments, and it's so interesting to see it from a player giving a jersey to an owner instead of an owner giving a jersey to a player. So that was an awesome moment right there. But wanted to give you the preface too, to understand why Jay Conrad Seneca is wearing a Knighthawks jersey in our interview with him. But we got to have a quick one-on-one with him. I got to ask him a bunch of different stuff. The last question that I asked him actually might be the most intriguing. So we'll send it to that interview right now. First question, I guess, to you. When you find out about the opportunity to own a team, or I guess first, the Pagulas come out and they say, we're no longer owning and operating the Rochester Knighthawks. For you and the Seneca Nation as partners of the Pagulas, having already a relationship with them, what was your initial thoughts at, I guess, the opportunity?
Well, I think when I first heard about it and basically kind of an offer in regards to a group that was trying to assemble to purchase the Knighthawks, we would only be in a small percentage partner in that. And my thought was we have to own it 100%. And that was my view. And it continues to be that we needed to be in control of the destiny of our own Seneca Nation destiny, as well as the Knighthawks destiny. And that's why it brings us here today. It's good stuff.
The pitch, obviously there's the business pitch, but you look at the team pitch. The MVP's here. The executive of the year from 2 years ago is here. Top 5 all-time winningest coach in the NLL.
Yeah.
How easy was it to say yes to a winning team?
I think it was pretty easy. I think, but of course we had to go through a process. We had to vet the opportunity. We put it through our business council, who looked at everything, and then we met about that and whether or not to move it forward. Once we decided that, we moved it forward to the Nations Council. And we had to basically brief them on it and bring them up to speed on why it would be a good opportunity. And so we had some discussion over that, and we had unanimous agreement on that to move forward. And that's when then we started really pressing forward in regards to closing the deal.
Yeah.
So.
You just look at the opportunity. I was driving up here today from the Finger Lakes just thinking about how awesome it is that the Creators game gets to be brought back by its people to the people in an area that is so deeply ingrained in upstate New York.
Exactly.
How much of a no-brainer is it to that the nation should own a lacrosse team?
It is, and then what I say all the time, and I say a lot, is that the Creator directs our steps. And I think, the Creator brings us opportunities and a pathway in life where challenges are in front of us and opportunities, and we have to gauge what we do and what we don't do. And this is one of them that was put on our plate for a reason. And I think we have such a dedication to this game we call lacrosse for many reasons. It's a healing game, spiritual game, medicine game, creator's game, all of these things. And our people that play this game from a young age to a master's level, we play it for the Creator. And as long as we keep that in focus and in our heart, then things are going to be good. And I think that's what we can also bring to this team, to this franchise, is that concept. But I think it's here already, as you mentioned. The experience that's here, the players, the unity that I see today and the feel. We have the components to take it to the next level, to get another championship back here in Rochester.
Yeah. Last question from me. Obviously, you talked about being friends with Kurt Sires during the press conference. Yep. Just what's the possibility of that group, that teal and black maybe getting a little bit of purple and an old logo back in this space?
We're going to look at the opportunities for a new logo and colors. We have to have a discussion in regards to how that's going to go, and we have to get it to the league before I think the end of September in regards to be able to do it for the next season. This season we're running with the current logo and colors that the team has in place today, and so we're excited about that, and we're excited also for the opportunity to make some change and put our footprint, I guess, on it as well.
So, a couple big things to pull out of that interview there with Jay Conrad. Seneca, first things first, the fact that they were offered as a member of a minority stake in a consortment group and said, nope, let's just take the whole thing is awesome to me. I love that type of initiative out of the group. I also love to know that there were that many organizations interested in keeping the team in Rochester, that there was the possibility of a consortment group. Now, with the past states of those being the situations, probably okay that that's not what ultimately unfolded. We know how stressful those situations can get when certain people don't agree with each other and they both have their money in it. So ultimately, I think this works out in favor of everyone, that it is one ownership group that is coming in to take it over. At the end of that, he talked about possible rebranding ideas for the team. I was just talking to my dad in the car about this. It'll be interesting to see what they do, because when I think about the colors that apply the most for the Native American heritage aspects of things, I think first of the purple for the Iroquois Confederacy flag, but then I think of the orange of Every Child Matters. And now NLL fans know that I just listed the colors of the Halifax Thunderbirds. And they fully have they have the logo, they have the colors of the native team in the league. Now, not Native American, they're in Canada. But the native team in the league, no question. Ultimately, though, I would be intrigued to see what type of colors they are thinking about for that rebrand. Obviously, one of the things that Seneca talked about was also the old logo being something that's in play, because he's friends with Kurt Stiers, the former owner of the Rochester Knighthawks, current owner of the Halifax Thunderbirds. So that's something to keep an eye on. But we know that we will be in the green and black this upcoming season in the NLL. I won't lie, I've never really been a fan of the green and blacks. I was a big fan when at that draft, when they got Thomas McConvey, they switched over to the black base for their home jerseys, way better than the all greens, but just never been a fan of that army green as a mainstay jersey color. It would be cool for your military appreciation night or whatever it may be, or military, whatever kind of night you want to have for that, to do that color. But for the whole season, I just not a huge fan of it. So I'm excited for the opportunity of a rebrand coming for the Rochester Knighthawks. There is Jay Conrad, Seneca. Up next, we got to have a nice long chat with the commissioner of the NLL, Brett Frood. And when you hear other voices in here asking questions, that's one of my friends, Eddie Tabone. He works with me in our stat tracking company where we track stats for the NLL. He probably knows more about lacrosse than I do, so I will definitely allow him to ask any questions in my interviews. So without further ado, here is the NLL commissioner, and really, I would say the driving force behind not allowing this team to leave Rochester, Brett Frood. Obviously, we heard you from the back, but can you just talk a little bit more about how important it was for you personally that Rochester didn't leave the NLL?
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold. I don't want any team leaving the NLL, right? Just tremendous growth for us and momentum over the last several years. Past the 1 million threshold in attendance, 3 years in a row. So attrition is never good, especially when we're in a growth phase. So I'll separate it, that's an important piece of it. And then the question is, okay, what do we do with them? And how much do we focus on Rochester versus other markets? And for me personally, and certainly the league, with the history of this city and lacrosse here and its legacy, it was vital that we keep it in Rochester. So that was really where we spent all of our emphasis, is finding an owner for this team in this city, and we're fortunate enough with the result that we announced today.
Right. One of the things that, we saw it come out a little bit on Twitter with different things, and obviously there's still a member of the overarching ownership group that is in the league.
Yeah.
Just what was that process with the Pagulas? Obviously, the Seneca Nation partners with the Pagulas for things before. So what was that kind of a relationship bridging like?
Yeah, it was honestly easy and great. They're partners across many of their businesses. Listen, the Pagulas are busy and have a lot of properties. So they've been, have communicated well to me over the last year their intentions. They're building them, as we all know, all of us Bills fans, building a pretty big new stadium. A lot of focus on the Bills and the Sabres and the Bandits, and then certainly the Amherst here. So at some point, people have to divest businesses to make the other ones as productive as possible. So they've been very good during the process and helping us. And as we said, Senecas have been a partner of theirs a long time across all of their properties. So the transition has been great.
One of the things I do a podcast in the Finger Lakes area for both of the teams here usually. And one of the things that I said when everything started to come out at the end of June was a general manager like Dan Carey can't not be a general manager in the NLL. A coach like Mike Hazen can't not be a coach in the NLL when he's, so close on the wins record. Just when you thought about those people that directly become affected by this, just what was in your mind when you thought about that?
Yeah, listen, it doesn't matter if we're talking about a lacrosse team, a widget company. I mean, human capital is everything. And when you think about the potential closure or it transitioning to somewhere else and it impacting jobs, it becomes pretty personal, especially when you have relationships with these guys, with these players, with Dan, with the coaching staff. And not that we needed any extra incentive to keep it here and maintain that nucleus of the team. When you actually develop those relationships, it makes it a little more poignant. And those guys have been vital to this organization and are going to remain vital to it. So there's a lot of satisfaction in not only keeping the team here, but keeping much of the human capital intact that has played such an important part in this franchise history.
Right. Last thing for me, you just look at the guys that are on this team. They're playing. I just look over there right now. Jake Casino just had one of the most outrageous weekends of lacrosse outdoors that I've seen. When you look at the players that Rochester brings, how easy was it to pitch this team to a prospective owner?
Yeah, great question. Everyone wants a winner, and owning a franchise is fun, but winning is a very difficult task for any sports organization. So to step into this situation, playoffs last 3 years, reigning MVP, strong, young, intact nucleus, pretty dang exciting. If I'm an owner, this is certainly a team that I would want to look at very closely. So I think it certainly played a part in their decision-making process.
Yeah, growing up in this part of the state, as you mentioned that you've been going to games for close to 30 years now. You see, even with the roster having as many local players as you do, what kind of pitch do you give to the people that you grew up with to get them to make the trip out on a Saturday night in January to check out a game?
Yeah, so for me, obviously, I've got the new role now, right? It's not when I was 19 years old and coming here looking at it. I look at it very differently. I feel like our league and this sport is the best sports product in the world right now. And I know it may sound disingenuous because I'm the commissioner of the league, but if I wasn't, I would be saying the same thing. Just the speed, the athleticism, the physicality, the entertainment, the energy that our games have are incredible. So while we certainly want to placate the endemics here, the huge lacrosse community, and not just Rochester, Syracuse, Ithaca, like the surrounding areas, we have to get them coming here. But our sport transcends lacrosse. right? Like, it doesn't matter if you're a basketball fan, hockey fan, passionate blue-collar sports fan. This is a place you need to be in December, January, March, and April with this team, with this ownership group. And I think a lot of it, you heard me, I tasked the fans to spread the word. And there's a lot going on in people's lives and a lot of entertainment, and you've got to make strategic choices. So for me, it's why not pick the sport that I think right now is the one you want to bring your kids to over everything else.
There is NLL Commissioner Brett Frood, obviously a major factor to keeping the team in Rochester for the long term is, of course, their goal that they will have, and I have no doubts that that is what the Seneca Nation's plan is as well with the team. Not only in Rochester, but I think at the War Memorial, it sounds is very much so. Blue Cross Arena is the home of the Knighthawks and where the team wants to be. Also, just as I'm saying this, a quick note of something that popped back up in my head while Jay Conrad Seneca was talking earlier during the press conference. He said, let's win some championships and keep them in Rochester, which was very interesting to the season ticket holder fans that were sitting and listening to that statement. It was awesome to hear, actually. So, yeah, definitely the intention to keep this team in Rochester for the long term and probably at the Blue Cross Arena for the long term. Frood, obviously a busy summer. We didn't ask him anything about the CBA situation. I think the fact that this got done as quickly as it did is a testament to what we might be able to see with the CBA unfold. Just hearing from little things around from people doesn't sound like the Knighthawks are too worried that there won't be a season, which is not what Jamie Dowick said 2 weeks ago, the owner of the Toronto Rock. Of course, like I said, he was kind of being a negative Nelly, but when he said he was very optimistic about the Knighthawks, he was right. So ultimately, not entirely sure how that shakes out, but in about another week, we will know with whether or not NLL free agency opens, not this Friday, but the Friday after that will be the August 15th opening of free agency, theoretically, if everything gets done in time. Now, the next man that we got to sit down with, 2 more interviews for you. Dan Carey first, and it will be Connor Fields after that, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But with Dan, we were able to ask him some quick one-on-one questions about the pitch to ownership and different things like that, but also just clarifying some of the logistical things with the transitioning of the team right now. So without further ado, here's the current general manager and also president of the Rochester Knighthawks, Dan Carey.
All right, sweet, we're recording. All right, so first thing for you, just when you look at like the pitch of everything that happens and you have to go to new ownership, how easy is it actually to pitch this team when you look at the on-field success that exists, the awards that have already come into the coaching staff to you over the past couple of years? Just what was that pitch like to potential buyers?
Yeah, it's there's an easy approach from our standpoint. We believe in our players. We've shown that we are a competitive team. We've made the playoffs the last 3 years, so it's easy to talk about our guys. We have a passionate group, and I'm very passionate about what we have in the locker room and within our staff. So that part of it's easy, right? There's an economics part of it that, we need to put more people in this building, and that's a big part of it as well. But from our standpoint, selling it as the team itself and the product that we have, I couldn't be any prouder of where we're at right now. And we do have a work ahead of us and want to continue to get better each year, but that's kind of the easy part is explaining and talking through what we have, our culture in the locker room, how important the type of people that we have within our team. And it's been an easy part of the process. Everything else is probably a little bit more of a challenge, but the team component is the best part and the easy part of it.
Yeah. Just philosophically speaking, when you look at what it means for the sport of lacrosse to have the Seneca Nation coming in and owning a franchise in the lacrosse world, just what does it mean to you to see that it can be more than just someone else is coming in to own the team, and it feels like a step for the sport as a whole?
There's so much passion and history and culture, and Mayor Evans mentioned it, the synergies, and it just feels right. So through this whole process, everything that we've gone through, every step that we've taken to get to today, it was clear to me that this was just a perfect fit. So, there's an added element of this is, important to all of us, but even more so to the nation, right? The creators game and how connected the community is with the sport of lacrosse. So it just seemed to be such a great and easy fit, and I think it just adds to the excitement having, a nation behind us and having, President Seneca being as passionate as he is, and I think that's going to, filter its way into our locker room.
Yeah, I mean, you guys still are such a young team, and now you've got a new ownership coming in that's going to, be learning on the go the next couple months and kind of growing with you guys. You think about what the next step is in the team's growth, getting a second playoff game, a home playoff game, as we were talking about last year towards the end. Just overall, what are the next steps that you see for the organization as a whole?
So you talked about, us being a little bit younger, still a younger team. We're kind of getting through that now. We're getting to that point where the players that we have, and Connor, MVP of the league last year, Ryan Smith, Thompson, we got guys that are at that point now where, I wouldn't say we've peaked, but this is our window of opportunity for us to have success. So, as much as I'm excited that we have many good years ahead of us with a core group of players, there's never enough time, right? We want to make sure that we're using every opportunity that we have, and this coming year is going to be one of them. So whatever's happened in the past, we got to learn from and be better. We've had 3 playoff games that we've unfortunately lost, and we went up against some pretty competitive and pretty good teams. Our standard, our expectation is going to be hosting a playoff game and ultimately competing for a championship and winning a championship. So whenever that might be, there's a process that goes into it that we've always focused on, and the outcome is obviously an important part of it. But if we continue to go through the process of what we think is important to win a championship, then we're going to get there a little bit quicker. So,
logistically speaking, I've just heard a bunch of people already randomly asking about it, and I know what the answer is going to be, so I just want to give you the opportunity to say it. Coaching staff situation for the next season?
Yeah, we're working through that right now, and the transaction was ultimately finalized yesterday. So, for us to have any other staff that was kind of an area that we need to focus on and be prepared for, but haven't gotten through that process yet. So that information's coming. We love what Mike, Pat, and Kyle have brought to us, as well as the other guys and the supporting crew. So that'll be coming hopefully in the next few days.
So it's just one of those things when the transaction gets finalized, you basically go blank slate except for your...
Yeah, like the contracts were up, and now we got to go through that process.
So, we talked about this team being young and different things like that. When you look at the marketing of the team, and that's always been something that people talked about a lot in the Rochester area, something that they felt like was maybe lacking. Obviously, the community events still happen, but it never felt like there was that extra push. What is the key with the Senecas that will possibly be able to happen now for you?
Yeah, so the staff, the people that we've worked with, so there's a group there that they already have in place that's been very helpful. So we're gonna, part of the transition is us working with the team here, with the Amherst, the staff that was working with the Knighthawks over the last few years. So they're gonna kind of help with the process until we round out our staff. So, responsibilities and kind of next steps for us is to hire out a staff. The marketing, the noise and visibility that we think is important. That's something that I'm going to be now responsible for. So we're excited about that opportunity. I think this city and this area, we can do a better job to promote the team and to get people to understand what this is, when our games are, the excitement of it, and just kind of get to that point where our outreach is expanding past what we've been doing. So it's the Rochester community, surrounding area, Syracuse, there's a lot of people that maybe aren't as aware of the Knighthawks that we're going to try and reach and get to a point where we've got this building full.
All right, Connor. Obviously, it's a weird summer when you don't necessarily know what's going on, and you've had weird summers before, whether that's being left off of the protected list or different things like that. Just where does this compare to something like that happening for you?
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I think any summer of uncertainty and is hard. It's hard mentally. I think we have a really focused group though that was very optimistic. Even probably when we shouldn't have been. We just wanted to be together. So bad. We love playing together. We love playing here in Rochester. So we were telling ourselves and each other, one, that it was gonna all things were all gonna fall into place, which thank God they did. But two, you can't really we could have went about it two ways. You could be, you could be uncertain and just kind of let the summer go by and not, put in much work because you don't know what the future holds, or, you can try to, be proactive and just go out working as hard as you can this summer because, last year how the season ended wasn't where we wanted to be by any means. So, and I think our group did that. And I think it's a next level of excitement that, we're staying here in Rochester. We're here to stay, in this great city with this great fan base. And, we have great owners now with the Seneca Nation. I keep saying it and I truly believe it. It's not just any owner. They are really the right owner, I feel like. And, we'll do well, for this team and for this city. So, and for the Seneca Nation. So, we're super excited.
You said it kind of right there, but, one of the things that talked about during that press conference is he's literally watching in college just because it's Albany. I mean, that the roots of upstate New York lacrosse and it being with the Iroquois people is very deeply rooted. Just how cool is it? And I mean, I guess no-brainer is the word that comes to mind for me, that they would be an ownership group for a team. Yeah,
I feel like, I've played in the Seneca Nation before. I've played Junior B for the Seneca War Chiefs. And just to see how, that team was run, but the culture, right? And I think the culture is huge in any team, but winning championships. I feel like we have a great culture here in Rochester as it is now, but I know, they could add, another level to that too in terms of, getting us over the hump and getting us to win that championship. They invented the game, right? And just they do it the right way. When I played out there, I loved playing out there. I learned a lot about the game itself and about playing it the right way, for the creator. And, it truly was, when I saw that it was the Seneca Nation, I was another level of excited just because I've played there. It reminded me of my childhood, but also, I credit them for a lot of where I am today, that team, and what I learned there. So, I think they're going to be great for this team, great for this city, and sky's the limit.
So for you as the family man, just what does it mean to know that you don't have to change any of your, obviously, in the NLL you're not going to move because of where your team is, but we know your history with West Coast situations and everything. Just what does it mean to know that you don't got to make the family move?
Yeah, it means everything. I think, I love playing here. I love playing in this city in front of this fan base. So that's first and foremost. And, and obviously most importantly is family, right? Everyone's family first, I feel like, and that's the way you should be. And for, to get the news and just to know that we're here to stay, it means I love playing here. I love looking in the stands and seeing not just all these fans, but my wife, my parents, my brother, my son, our hopefully, knock on wood, everything goes smoothly, our soon to be second son, so it's just truly special. And I don't take that for granted. I truly, embrace all those moments and soak them in because I know they don't last forever. And, I'm just excited to be able to play here for, hopefully for the rest of my career. So this is, I can't tell you how excited I am. It's awesome.
There was Dan Carey, followed by the NLL MVP from last season, Connor Fields. Honestly, everything with Carey pretty straightforward there. Just a lot of logistics, talking about the pitches and different things like that. Quick notes that I want to get into with Connor there. Absolutely awesome that he played for the Seneca Nation in Junior B. Just kind of brings it even more so full circle. And obviously the family man that we all know Connor is, there was no way that he wanted to have to either uproot his family, which I don't think he would have done anyways, but ultimately have to go play somewhere not driving distance away, is not the Connor Fields MO based off of what we've already seen. He used to be in San Diego. He asked for a trade to the East Coast, got traded to the Bandits. They left him unprotected when the Las Vegas Desert Dogs had their expansion draft. They took him as one of their top overall picks, and he immediately was on the phone with Sean Williams saying, "Thank you, I appreciate it, but it wouldn't be fair to San Diego for me to now come to Las Vegas and play for a different West Coast team when I asked them to trade me because I was on the West Coast." So they traded him to the Knighthawks, and that's how that situation unfolded that way. Ultimately, though, it's just awesome to know that this team is going to be staying in Rochester, and there's so many pieces to it that on the field are going to be major key factors. We'll keep it moving as we've been talking about the Knighthawks for quite a bit here. And I mean, I think we've pretty much summed it up, but we got to throw the shot of Jay Conrad Seneca into the jersey up there first. Just an awesome day for Rochester, for lacrosse as a whole, and for this Knighthawks organization, and I could not be more excited. Now, quickly to our other lacrosse things around the league. Of course, this weekend coming up will be the last weekend of the regular season in the Premier Lacrosse League after a weekend in Denver last weekend that saw another arguable game of the season at 1 o'clock on Saturday. I might have been wrong, I guess, about the whole elevation thing. I don't know how nobody brought it up the entire weekend that they were in Denver, that elevation was a thing, but they didn't. Nobody said a word about it. At all. And in the first half, it was very evident that Denver did not have any legs or gas in the tank. Then in the second half, they found it. But by the end of the third quarter, Tim Soudan had to take a timeout for the sake of both teams. They were both walking at the end of the third quarter. Nobody talked about the elevation at all. It irked the crap out of me. Just like, can we stop just hammering on whatever storyline we want to hammer on and accept that there are outside situations that affect play, period? That's just the way the sport is. Can we get there and then move on? Like, what are we doing? But still an absolutely fantastic game. When it came down to that overtime segment, interesting thing with the overtime for the PLL, the fact that they don't have timeouts, part of me likes it. However, I think that there should be stoppages then in the overtime period for media timeouts still. Because when we get 7 minutes deep in possessions back and forth and both teams are absolutely dead, that's not where we want to see the win come from at all. Or that's not where I want to see the win come from. I would like to see the team that is actually the best come out with the win, not just the team that got beat up the least coming out with the win. Given that is lacrosse at times, but not in the PLL when you get to overtime and both teams have scored 17 goals. And then because they're both completely beat, it takes 7 minutes before either of them can score. Also, it was very, very, very obvious to me in this game once we got into that overtime period and we watched Dalton Young and Justin Anderson and all these guys in the midfield for Denver that had the short stick matchup, so they thought they should take the chance. The second that they had their first possession on offense, I said, only one of these Tourton winners is going to be able to score. Period. Yet they tried to put it in the stick of the other guy, like every single time in overtime. And this is just one of those things that always irks me with Denver. It's like last year when they had Brennan O'Neill bringing them on that like one-man comeback against Utah. And then they stopped giving him the ball. Like he could have won the game in regulation if they kept giving him the touches at the end of that game, and they didn't. And then they went to overtime and won it off of a Brennan goal. So, like, this is something that happens often for Denver. They try to change the looks and they try to get cute and make sure that you don't know exactly what you're doing. You got 4 Tuerton winners. At the end of the day, put the ball in one of their sticks, and one of the 4 is going to get open. Like, and at the end of the day, all you need to do is let Jared Bernhardt invert to X, apparently, and he'll take whatever matchup he gets right up the alley and absolutely bury that thing. And that is exactly what happened for the Denver Outlaws in that game. But they clinch the top seed in the PLL standings and then get a bye week next week, so they're not going to be playing for a hot minute here. Or it's just like there's a big gap for the Denver Outlaws in their playing time from, this game last weekend, or the 2 games last weekend, to now they're going to have to basically wait for a competitive game until they're in the playoffs. But ultimately, as we take a look to the league standings for the PLL, Denver on top with their 7 wins. Carolina clinches a spot in the playoff. They know that they will be in, and I'm not sure if you told me after the first week of the season that Carolina was going to be the 3rd team to clinch a playoff spot, I would have called you absolutely insane. But that's the spot that we're sitting in right now. And before we get into the Boston homecoming weekend, they will have a chance to propel themselves into that 2nd or 3rd spot in the Eastern Conference. Going to be some big time matchups on the weekend for the PLL. And as we look to the conference standings as well, Boston right now just on goal differential right now is behind Philly. Obviously, they've played 1 less game. They're going to make up for that this weekend when they play twice. But ultimately, here's the real interesting thing. If, ultimately Maryland has a better goal differential than both Boston and Philly do. And when we look down, California right now has a better goal differential than Carolina does. So if California and Carolina end up with the same record, California goes above them in the seeding. Utah is very much out of it at this point in that realm of things, but still very interesting with that tiebreaker conversation that is going to exist for those 2nd and 3rd spots. And of course, in the East, who doesn't make the playoffs and who gets the 2nd overall pick or the 1st overall pick, depending on where they line up in comparison to the Utah Archers. But ultimately, that's the PLL as it shakes out. Boston getting some new threads for this weekend, as well as they will be sporting their throwback jerseys in navy blue. Last weekend on Friday, the Denver Outlaws wore their throwback jerseys, which I think was a great decision. They looked awesome. And watching back-to-back those 2 games, my take from a couple weeks ago about it should just be their regular jersey absolutely stands true. It looks so much better to me than the jersey that they wore on Saturday, and I don't think it's even remotely close. In other PLL news, just quickly, as we transition ourselves to the National Collegiate Box Series momentarily here, Jake Pacino was the interview of the week on the Mitchell Pelkey Lacrosse Show. One of the things they talked to him about, for those upstate New Yorkers that are intrigued, was if he was recruited by the Syracuse Orange. And let's be real, kind of a dumb question. Of course, Jake Pacino, living in Syracuse, was recruited by Syracuse. Like, someone 100% came in and watched him play. He was absolutely fantastic. However, this was the ultimate statement from Pacino that he was told by Syracuse when he was going in for his recruitment. They told him he was too small and that he wasn't big enough. I mean, let's be real. Jake Pacino is very, very short, but he is the most pit bull player I have ever seen at the long stick position. Just compact firecracker type energy. And the ability that he has on the offensive end is absolutely insane. But he's also just a monster athletically in the game of lacrosse. And he was a monster athletically in the game of lacrosse on the box floor as well a couple of years ago. 2 seasons ago, he played for the Rochester Hawkeyes in the UCBLL and then went on the run with the team for the National Collegiate Box Series final. They did not come away with the win in that season, but then the next year did lift the national championship. Now, this season, they look to defend their title in the National Collegiate Box Series, taking place at RIT's Frank Ritter Arena starting today, going through Saturday. So 8 teams competing in this league that will be taking place at RIT starting today. Yours truly will be on the call for all but one game alongside Brendan McDaniels and Dave Buchanan, the color commentator for the Knighthawks and the sideline reporter for the Buffalo Bandits. But yeah, first game of the day will be at 4 o'clock today. Games every hour and a half. Tomorrow is going to be an absolutely full slate. I am so excited for that, to be honest. But yeah, the Hawkeyes will look to try to defend their NCBS title as they go into this one with a reinforced squad, to say the least. We talked about it last week, but having Zach Terry as the premier lefty and Clifford Gaston as the premier righty on the same team has not been the case for this team before. I think it's going to be absolutely terrifying to see what this team can do on the offensive end. The question will ultimately be in the goal for the Hawkeyes. Meanwhile, for the Buffaloes, honestly, looking through that lineup that they have, just really hopeful for them that they can have a good show-out performance as another team from the upstate New York area. But Hawkeyes easily going to be the squad to watch as we go into this NCBS tournament. 4 o'clock today, that starts on the NLL YouTube page if you want to go and check it out, or you can go to NCBS Cup 2025 on Instagram, link right in their bio for the YouTube page there. But that is going to do it for us this week on Against the Boards. Long episode today, but we had a lot to get through. The Knighthawks are sticking around in Rochester, and the future has never looked brighter. Thanks to my producer, Paul Russo. I've been Chamberlain Bauder. You're listening to Against the Boards. We'll see you next time.